this is Sunbeam again. We just picked up a massive debris field at your location. I didn't know how many of you... I didn't know. We're now en route to your location. We're gonna bring you home. Sunbeam out.
Welcome, swimmers, to the Subnautica. We'll be picking up where we left off last episode, starting with a quick dip into the water just below the floating island. And as we look down, we can see nothing. Whatever is below the island is so far down that we cannot see the bottom. No flashlight or anything can reach the sea floor. Swimming down would be a bad idea too, as going farther than 100 meters puts pressure on you and your oxygen depletes faster. We will need something that can withstand a bit more force than you. Back in the grassy plateaus, you could find fragments of a sea moth. Scanning enough of these will give you the blueprint to make your very own operational water car. Well, space car turned water car. But with this, you can brave the depths of 4546b unlike what you've seen before. But before we reach the bottom, we can notice something about the floating island. The reason why it's floating is the massive floaters underneath. Biodata suggests these vast floaters have matured in an ingenious symbiosis with the land they have attached to. The attached landmass is raised in the water, increasing sunlight and encouraging plant growth. As older plants decay, organic residues and nutrients seep into the rock and are consumed by the floater. These circumstances have held for thousands of years for a floater to reach this size. Life cycle. Immature floaters are born near the surface, from where they sink to the seabed, attaching to any stable surface they find on the way. Those individuals fortunate enough to attach to a digestible nutrient source will grow in size, thus increasing their buoyancy and drawing whatever they are attached to closer to the surface. In extreme circumstances, a number of floaters may attach to a Leviathan-class lifeform, forcing it to the surface and effectively asphyxiating it. The body will be consumed over a number of months until eventually dissolving, leaving the floaters free to attach to a new host. Those creatures which successfully raise a landmass to the surface are rewarded with a burgeoning and permanent food supply, allowing them finally to reproduce and begin the cycle again. Assessment: incredible. Grand Reef. Swimming below this beautiful display of flora flourishing via fauna, we find an uneasy feeling. All we can see is darkness and the unknown, until we are greeted with an ominous cyan glow near the seafloor. We find anchor pods, large glowing orbs reminiscent of the bulb bushes of the bulb zone. We know that's not a nice place to be, so keeping an eye out for danger is a good idea. Scanning these anchor pods tells us this. These unusual flora specimens have been encountered exclusively in the deep reefs. They consist of a large, spherical gas-filled membrane, anchored to the seafloor by its root system. At these depths, it's unlikely the structure is designed to enhance access to sunlight, but rather the pod's ability to propagate. Once the pods attain sufficient height, they burst, releasing spores, which catch the current and disperse around the local area. We can't get too close to the seafloor in our sea moth without it starting to break under the pressure. Luckily, we visited the sparse reef and found fragments of the moon pool. Scanning these gives us the blueprint to make our own. There, we can dock our trusty sea moth, and after adding a vehicle upgrade station, we can build our first depth module. Yay! Depth modules will get annoying from here on out. Now able to find the seafloor, we return to the Grand Reef where we can find a lot of interesting flora and fauna. One to note, one you'll want to farm quickly, is the gel sac. Scanning the vine-like ball gives you this entry. These organic structures grow on cave walls. The purple sacs which arise from the surface contain a low-density gel lace with spores. These burst from time to time, floating towards the surface and attaching onto the next rock face they encounter. While the gel sac is edible, its low density renders it an invaluable advanced construction material. Assessment: edible. Aerogel construction applications. It may be edible, but I don't know who is jumping at the chance to eat something called a gel sack. No, we want these so we can farm them. We want them for the aerogel construction applications. Along the walls, we can also find some rubies to go with our gel sacks. Another thing to note is... What is that? That is not a fish. Is that one of the precursors? No. This is a warper. This purple thing is aggressive and defies logic. Somehow warping around at will, it can even warp you out of your vehicle in order to attack you. And boy, does it attack you. If you're brave enough to get a scan of this thing, you'll get this entry. An aggressive creature with the ability to teleport itself and others in space. No genetic crossover identified with indigenous life forms. Demonstrates no recognized defensive behavior. 1. Head. Mechanisms located in the head region provide its warping capability, which it uses to stalk its targets. 2. Torso. Appears to hunt other life forms, but no digestive organs have been identified. Internal structure considerably more complex than other known organisms. Unable to distinguish whether organic or artificial in nature. Assessment, further research required. So it's definitely not a fish. It is, however, terrifying. It's made for stalking, and the name of stalker is already taken, so it gets the name warper. I mean, it does do that. The creature is unlike the creatures we've seen before. Biologically, it is more advanced than the other fauna. It's unlikely that it's had more time to evolve on this planet, because it's so unlike the rest of the creatures. It seems to only be designed to hunt. It doesn't seem to even eat them, it just seems to destroy. Moving on, we can find another one of those weird vents over by... Oh no, we can't deal with 2 horrors in one episode. Avoiding the screams again, we can find a wreck accompanied by another one of our warper friends. Entering it, we can find a few upgrades for a Cyclops, when we get that somehow. Within this wreck, we can find an abandoned PDA containing an audio log.
I find a tendency amongst Alterans to think not only that you have it best, but that yours is the only way to have it at all. In the Mongolian states, we have the freedom to work for ourselves. Hey, most of us are contractors. Joe owns her own company. Whose ship are you living on right now? Yours or Altera's? You do well to remember whose ship you're on, Mongolian. According to my religious beliefs, this ship belongs to us all. We're all part of the same system. The only difference between us is where we choose to draw lines. Wise words for someone from a cowboy corporation fighting over rocks in the far reaches of space.
We again get a word from our friend Yohi Kasar. We get a little bit more insight into Mongolian religion. There isn't much to take away from this besides a look at everyone's shining personality in this interaction, as we already know the fate of our beloved emissary. Crag Field. Moving on to this stalagmite-covered region, we are welcomed by a myriad of bone sharks, some covered in kara, some not. Not too far into this region, we can find Life Pod 7, ripped open at the side. We can clearly see some toys and lab equipment thrown about. This scene indicates quite some party, but the PDA left behind may clue us in on the real story.
I've tried everything. The analysis circuits on the fabricator are fried. Can barely manufacture the most basic of materials. Want a battery? Here, have a children's toy. Need deep-sea diving equipment? Have some lab tech. Hungry? I'll turn that fruit into dust for you. I'm going forward with trial and error. I hit every button here has got to make something useful eventually.
This crew member unfortunately got a busted life pod. He sounds proficient in survivability. Maybe if that fabricator wasn't just spitting out toys... Wait. The toys. Is that Markiplier? If you scan this doll, you can fabricate your very own unusual doll. This is a bobblehead figure of the famous YouTuber that you can place on a shelf or above your bed to keep you safe among the monsters outside. Moving on, we can find a peculiar alien gate creating a barrier for you to pass through and breathe without problem. In here, you can notice more stalagmites and a plethora of stalactites. Crossing the rock bridges, we find another alien arch. Again, there is nothing to do with this, so we'll just have to note it and carry on. In this region, we can find a few Cyclops fragments and other things to scan if you haven't gotten that blueprint yet. I do want to mention that you may notice the voice of the crew member here is the same of a member of the missing Degasi crew, Paul Torgal. I don't think this is intentional, as the life pod was a later addition. During development of the game, they reused voice actors often. Sea Treader's Path. In our final location of this episode, we find ourselves in a very unassuming region. We find the aforementioned sea treaders treading along the sea floor. Your PDA even notes how flat the ground and adjacent plants is, as if it were made that way by a large creature roaming around on the sea floor. These gentle giants may seem at first a little daunting, but are surely passive and can actually be helpful, as their excrement makes good bioreactor fuel. Moving on, trying to leave after that, we can stumble upon a large wreck. Coming through, we can find Cyclops module blueprints and a PDA detailing Altera Alms. Altera Alms pamphlet. Charity is an archaic concept, which the realism of today's Alterans has rendered obsolete. We understand that we are each responsible for ourselves, but the best way to get most for ourselves is to work together with Altera. The implication of this reasoning is clear. If someone is in need, they must find a way to be needed. Altera Alms is a training academy for those that need to be needed. We're not a charity because we don't ask for handouts. We prefer to think of ourselves as a philanthropic, beneficence, facilitation service promoting a synergy between employer and workforce. I'm surprised I was able to get through that in one take. AA operates as a lottery system. By investing any number of credits, you will be entered into our prize draw. Larger investments yield higher chances of winning. Your credits will go towards training unskilled colonists in vital tasks such as maintenance and interpersonal skills. The colonists receive this training voluntarily and free of charge, on condition of a minimum contract with one of our investors on completion of their training. Here we get an outline of something of a training agency on behalf of Altera's colonizing efforts. It isn't stated what sort of prizes investors might receive, but it is possible it's related to whatever contract with one of our investors means. This pamphlet seems to serve to wealthy land/business owning Alterans looking to invest in workers, and to people in any of the transgovs looking for work. Wait. What's that?
Survivor, we see you. Man, I don't know how you held out down there. We broke an atmosphere, and we're descending towards the landing site.
Our way home is finally here.
Is that a building down there? What do you mean you can't identify it? Hold on. No turning back now.
The tower turns down to an angle and begins pointing towards the approaching sunbeam.
Positions, everyone. Touching down in 10, 9, 8.
A green light emanates from atop the tower.
It's coming from the building? Change course. Set thrusters to full.
The QEP has enforced the quarantine as promised. The sunbeam is gone. Our last hope for rescue is gone. With that, we will have to either cure the Kara, then build our own rocket out of here, or die trying. Let's hope for the former next time on the Subnautica. Thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. Come back next time to discover the radiant jelly shroom caves, the underwater islands, and the desolate, devoid wasteland known as the Dunes. Sources for this podcast include the Subnautica Fandom Wiki and its contributors, and of course the source material provided in-game Subnautica, created by Unknown Worlds Entertainment. Music created by Simon Chylinski and myself. Please rate or review this podcast wherever you get it, and subscribe or follow so you know when I post a new episode. Thanks for listening to the Subnauticast.